afternoon from London to our colleagues in Tehran. First, I want to thank you for the hospitality and getting us to work very hard. A few days I was in London, in Tehran. Thank you for considering us for the proposal regarding MCI leadership program. It is challenging, and we are ready to take the challenge. Now back in London, I've got one of my colleagues, senior lecturer in strategic management, marketing, and many subjects over the years. John Miller has been dealing with, teaching it by choice. I'm sure he can do a lot of other things as well. And I think this section, what we're going to look at, we're going to look at the challenges a company which is going through privatization would face. And being telecom company, John has his history in that business, and he has seen it in person happening to BT, British Telecom here. John, let's start with what are the challenges for such a large organization that they face, anybody involved, doesn't really matter, when they go from a government organization, in effect a service industry, to a commercial organization dealing in a commercial world, and maybe internationally as well as nationally.
Okay, well, I've done it twice.
You could go over it.
Yes. I was with BT 30 years ago when BT went through this as a junior officer, and later on with Ericsson when they were struggling to try and reorganize their way of working so that it matched the new environment they're actually working in.
So there is actually two parts, because not only the organization becoming privatized, their suppliers have to start looking at them as a commercial organization rather than a government organization.
Yeah, we were dealing with BT purely as a government-owned organisation, command-driven, and they changed and we had to change with it. And that was more painful, I think, than BT had.
Well, I think one of the things that immediately comes to mind is like a government organisation, like purchasing system is different from a commercial organisation, isn't it? The decision-making is different.
Purchasing system is different, and the executives' mindset is different. As an example, in telecommunications, understanding the technology usually permeates right the way up the tree. With BT now, many of the managers don't come from the telecommunications industry, so they don't want to sit down and discuss jargon and technology with you. They want to discuss profit and loss. So it's a totally different focus, and suppliers have to understand that, be able to deal with it.
So one of the mindset is different. The culture of the organization all the way through is different. From being a government civil servant sort of a situation, coming to a commercial one, which then customers, I mean, people become customers rather than being public.
You have two issues. BT used to call their customers used to call them subscribers.
Subscribers, yes.
On the grounds they never really thought of them as customers, they were like joining a club. Well, of course, once you start thinking of them as customers, particularly in a competitive environment, the whole world is different. In addition to that, now you've got stakeholders who are expecting a return on their investment, and life is different there as well. And their considerations have to be taken into account. You have to consider those with power, those with influence, those who care. It's a different world to deal with.
Well, we can see here immediately, as the company has become privatized, the new owners or stakeholders very rightly have said they want to change the leadership, change the management to commercial management, which is very well thought move. I mean, they have to be handled very quickly to make a whole sort of level of commercial level which they have to play.
There is that, and you have to think about moving up the value chain. You have to concentrate on those issues such as marketing, outbound logistics, services, those things which are closer to the customer, where in the civil service you if you were like BT, it will really measure on your technical excellence, which is a different focus entirely.
I think everyone understands the changes the company has to go through, but we all know, even in commercial companies, with the commercial culture, when you're introducing a change in the practice, change in the way we do things, is very difficult. The systems of any organization is reluctant to change, even human bodies are reluctant to change. And I think the challenge is not just coming with what is the best program on the paper, and training few people on the top. The whole organization mentality has to change. How we do deal with that, introducing the change and a reaction resistant to the change we're going to get?
Well, it's a very slow process because people don't change overnight because it's a cultural thing. Some BT said they had to go through a whole generation before they really made the change.
They did go, because I think it was 27 years ago I was doing my master's in management, and the people in the class were from BT.
That's it?
Actually doing the management training in preparation of the change. I think most of them are retired now. But we were going to Henley, which those days they were more specialized in these kind of training. Now they are doing every kind of management training. But I remember the days, and it was very difficult for. There was age difference. One of the problems was that I was young. There was no problem for me. I wasn't a BT, but dealing with management issues and learning, it was not as difficult as people in top to middle management, age group 35 to 50, working and studying and understanding all these new concepts. It was a heavy work. It was not an easy job for them to do.
Well, there's pluses and minuses in all of this. On one side, you're being exposed to the marketplace, which changes your mindset and makes you more competitive in the marketplace, but it also gives you access to private finance. It also gives you the latitude of strategic choice, because now you have a much broader choice of how you run the company, some of the innovative things you can do to try and be competitive, which you probably never had under a command economy.
But one thing which companies, most telecoms, when they go to privatization, like BT here, they get this period of time which they would act as a monopoly. Like BT, I think, managed to get around 10 years of that, not allowing competitors to get into their market. But eventually, they have to finish the change, because the governments would allow the competition to come in.
Well, with BT, Mrs. Thatcher, when she changed, privatised them, deregulated them, said they're sort of ease you in slowly. So they gave them only one competitor, Mercury, for 7 years, so that they learnt what it was like to have a competitor. And during those 7 years, they lost very few customers, but Mercury afterwards explained that they were actually the most profitable customers that BT lost, and they suffered the pain later on because they didn't realise it.
But I think Mercury was just thrown into the lion just to get the lion to tame itself and get ready for the...
It was almost part of the training.
I think that was the case. But nevertheless, whatever time period you are given, you have to go over, get over this change. And I think it's a best move. I could probably BT did the same thing at the time, because there were around 50 to 70 of BT managers. It was British Gas and BT. The rest of the class. There were a group of our young people, but, because I think British Gas was happening just after or before that.
British Gas
came after, but they were
shares in it.
They were. You're right. My mom got some shares in it as well. But both went through the same thing. That these companies, which they own their infrastructure in both cases, which later on they were forced to allow the other operators to use their infrastructure, like British Gas, which is obviously other people can sell the gas on it. Same with BT. Now, it's a very good move. They did it as well, taking your top managers train. But it's an organization like telecoms. They have got tens of thousands of staff.
Yeah.
How this is going to sit through by training 50 or 100 people? how did we deal with it?
It's not such an issue when you're down at an operational level. Life somewhat carries on the same because you're not making strategic decisions. You're servicing equipment and providing the service. And at least with BT, most of the guys, they were reasonably customer focused anyway in what they were actually doing. But it was senior management who had to change the direction of the company, taking into account that they had shareholders who expected to see value in what they were doing. In addition to that, they had customers who wanted more for less. And they had to work out ways of working with less budgets, ways for working with less resources, but delivering more. And that was a challenge. You have to become more productive.
Well, I think that there is one good thing there, which if we can change the top management and probably one tier down on that, the regional managers, we're almost there. Because as you said, the further down the line, they are a service provider, they are technical people, and they were customer centered anyway. But we just want to get the bottom line right.
Yeah.
You know, which all the stakeholders want to see what's at the bottom. Yeah. Profitability, investment, managing human resources, efficiency, quality systems, and things like that, which is all coming from the top. And I think the base of the program, as is a technical, technology-based company, would be fine. Wouldn't be much of a problem there.
Well, the big decisions that have to be made, and they need to be made at the top. First of all, affect organisational structure, because if you've got the wrong organisational structure, it can work against you. If you've got a control structure which is put in place if you're a government organisation, it stifles innovation. If you take Richard Branson, if you take Tom Peters, they talk about breaking yourself down into organisations of not more than 50, then giving these people the opportunity to go away and innovate and make a few mistakes, and that's how you're going to keep up with the customer. You're going to invest more money in research and development, because usually as a government organisation you don't have the money to invest in research.
But the money goes to the government's treasury or something.
Exactly, but if you're really going to be competitive, you have to throw a lot of money at R&D not to get ahead, just to stay with the game.
And also it opens up other markets as well. As a government organisation, you are supposed to service your customers or subscribers which are within the boundaries of the country. But as an independent telecom company, you go wherever opportunities are, so you can expand. You can go in neighboring countries or wherever it is to operate and take a chunk of their business as well. So your management mentality should start looking beyond the borders.
You're going to have to, because Wayne Valence, in a speech I remember a long time ago, said they're going to come and play in my backyard, and I've got shareholders who are demanding expansion, not contraction, then I've got to go and play in their backyard because I need more customers. So he was really pushed into becoming...
They got to be pushed, but I think they are in they're taking the right steps, they're making the right decisions, they're looking at the leadership and the top managers. I know from other discussions we had locally that they are looking at the lower tier management as well, which we're discussing in some other place. I think we got the right programs, we got the right adaptation to the program, and we're going to discuss it in the next section of this. We don't want it to get too long. You need a coffee break or cigarette break, so we will come back in a few minutes.